Finally.
Finally, you guys. That is the voice of Leandra, is better known as, I always forget that you have freaking periods in your handle.
It's so annoying.
And like earlier, I had somebody who was like, hey, do you know anybody who's like taking on one-on-one clients? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure female in finances. And I did the like at female in finance. And I was like, I'm 99% sure that's not actually her handle.
Yeah.
And then I click it and it's like some private account with some, I think she's brunette.
Yeah. And like a couple hundred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An influencer.
The page is
for sure.
The page is not active.
No. So Leandra is the face of female.in.finance.
I tried to get I messaged that brunette.
No way. Did she ghost you?
There's just no response.
Oh my gosh. It's probably not even remotely an active account.
Yeah. Like, give it to me.
Somebody, when I first started Clobare, I remember I wanted the Clobare handle where it was just CLOBARE. And somebody, of course, had it. I thought about that as well. I'm glad I didn't, though, because it's like, even Clobare still looks like a personal account, because a lot of people see that and they're like, I don't know what that is.
Right.
But Clobare Money Coach, it's like Clawbar Money Coach.
Clawbar.
And so people are like, yes, clearly this is not a personal account.
That's funny that people actually think it's Clawbar Money Coach?
So people often will call me Clobar.
Oh.
Which I think it's funny because it's like, I say my name all the time.
Yeah.
And the whole logo is a bear.
Yeah, it's Clobar.
Yeah. I still get people, because I think people think that like Bar is my last name or something.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah, but also BARE is pronounced bear.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh.
I guess unless you're going to like a pure bar class, because that's like what? BARRE.
I could get my ass whooped in a bar class. Am I allowed to curse?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
I had to think about that.
Oh, and Logan's here today, guys. She loves Leandra. Logan, we're going to kick you right off. Don't make me put you in the bathroom. Don't make me do it. It's a big bathroom, guys. So anyway, we were joking about it being finally, and I'll give you a little thing to remove all the dog hair when we go to dinner. But when was the last time? I think it was like, what, month or two ago? I just remember I was supposed to have you on the podcast before Better Wallet had you on the podcast, and you betrayed me.
I did. I totally cheated.
You did. Cheated on me with freaking Mark. And Mark, I know you're not listening to this, but I will send you just this clip just because of spite.
I felt so bad. I even told Mark when we first met. I was like, I am literally cheating on Chloe. I told Chloe first.
Yeah.
Be on her podcast.
And it's funny because Mark, I'm pretty sure, messaged me exactly that. And he was like, and I was like, you know what? Whatever. I had Jeremy on before Mark had Jeremy on.
Hey, there it is.
And I was like, so what you gonna do now? But it's funny. It's friendly competition. So tell the people, who are you in the real world? Who are you on the internet other than female.in.finance? What is female.in.finance?
I hate saying that out. Some people are like, where can they find you? At female.in.finance.
Yes.
Anyways, I'm Leandra in real life, and I live in San Diego, and I went to school and studied finance, and I worked in corporate finance, and now I teach personal finance, and my whole life has been learning about finance. So I will say finance, not anymore.
That was a lot of finance.
That was a lot. But my life pretty much revolves around it the best way. And then online, I'm the same person, just I'm way more shy in person.
So shy.
And then on social media.
Yes.
And social media is hard for me, like getting behind a screen and recording myself. And this is hard. But this is a challenge for me that I have to keep doing.
Well, and is it easier that you're in person? Which, by the way, if you guys are listening and you're like, wow, they're like, the sound's a little different, or like, they're really, the banter is strong on this one. It's because Leandra's sitting next to me. So I think this is the first time, other than like my sister or my mom being on the podcast, where we had an in-person podcast. So is it easier or harder?
Easier.
Yeah, because it's just us chilling.
Well, and because you and I like know each other a little better.
Yeah.
I feel like when I've been on other podcasts where people don't know me, or I don't really know, they don't really know how our communication style is going to be, but this is easier. Yeah.
Well, especially because your sense of humor, I feel like either it's like people will get you or they won't, and they'll just be like, yeah. Wait, was she sarcastic?
Get out. I don't like her.
I don't know. Pretty girls can be funny. I don't know if I like that. Funny and smart and pretty.
My mom thinks I'm funny.
I I think you're funny too. I think your followers also think you're funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, because like your
Yeah.
content is not boring.
Oh, thanks.
Like it's like, so both of you and I cover what I think most people would consider boring content.
Yeah.
But we do it in a way that is very much in line with our personalities. And here's the thing, is like your content's very different from my content, and the way that you present it and the way that I present it is totally different. And I think that's what's cool. Cause like, I also think neither of our content is boring.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, yours is very entertaining. But
that's right.
The only other finance influencer that my mom follows is you.
Literally, I forgot about that. Yeah. Francine, right? Yes. Oh my gosh.
You
guys heard it here that Leandra's mom, female in finance,
follows Chloe.
Follows me.
And loves it.
Loves my dancing moves. I don't dance as much as I used to. You know, Clover's getting old, but that always warms my heart when I hear that.
I'll wait for the text from my mom where she's like, when's Chloe gonna throw that ass in a circle for me again?
Okay, if she sends you that, I need you to screenshot it and text me. Yeah. Because that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. Oh my God, I love that so much. Wow. Okay. Let her know I have one in drafts. Okay. I will out to the Margarita song. Perfect. Have you heard the Margarita song? So there's this lady who was like on a college campus, like yelling at a crowd of like, if you give her one margarita, she'll open her leg. And it's like this skinny little like Karen caricature. And it's like, she's yelling this at like a bunch of college students. And so this woman who does a podcast, I don't know, I've never seen her before. I'd seen this clip on TikTok. And she goes, that sounds like she's like, that could be a great rap song. And she's like, give me a beat. And then she starts going, like, she just goes off. She's like, give me one margarita, I'm gonna open my legs. Oh. Give me 2 margaritas, I'm gonna give you some head. Give me 3 margaritas. Yeah. And she like just goes off and then somebody remixed it. And like, I will send it to you. It's amazing. And I'm going to be doing a TikTok to it. So hopefully, I mean, that'll come out before this episode comes out. So you will know.
Throw that ass in a
I'm going to throw that ass as best as I can. It might be more like throwing my lower back, but you know, we do what we can with what we got.
Just don't throw it out.
I just won't throw it out. No, that's definitely the goal. So, okay. So Leandra is female in finance on Instagram. She's got a blog. She's working on some courses. Yeah. You're still doing one-on-one coaching, right?
Yes, for now.
Yeah. Okay. And she's got very funny, dry sense of humor on there, breaks things down. And she's very much, because of her introverted personality, there's a lot of infographics, I would say.
Yeah.
That's like,
terribly.
Yeah. You're like, creme de la creme. So if you're a visual learner, highly recommend checking that out. But really, the reason I wanted to bring you on to talk to you today is obviously just because I wanted to talk to you. But that's the best part about having podcasts, is it's just like, let me bring my friends on and ask questions. And it's like, I don't think I've ever really heard your full story. Like I've heard little bits and pieces, because it's like, you know, I don't read every single post that you post.
You should.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I know. You're like, wow, gets up and leaves. I don't read any finance content anymore.
I don't read that much either. Or I read like people's blogs and newsletters.
Yeah.
I'll read on social media, on Instagram.
Morning Brew. I've mentioned the Morning Brew a couple times on
that
this podcast because I love the Money Scoop. That's my favorite.
Same.
I love Money with Katie, and I loved her before Morning Brew.
Same.
And like theirs are so fun. So, and this is not sponsored, but hey, Morning Brew, if you ever want to sponsor me, let me know. Hit me up.
Hit me up.
So anyway, yeah, let's talk about your story.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Gosh,
so where were you born? I'm just kidding.
Down the street, Scripps Hospital.
Yeah, so Leandra's like from San Diego. This is her hometown, which has been great with moving here, because it's like I already have a built-in friend who likes to do stuff. I made her go hiking last weekend, and
she tried to kill me.
She thought we were gonna do like a sweet, soft little like just walk on the beach. And I was like, oh, we have to pay $20 for a parking pass there. Let's go to the place that I know that's 6 minutes away, that we have to like climb through the canyons. And it's like a legit hike, but it was like, you literally have to face your fears.
All of them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
All my fears of heights and dying came into one event with Chloe.
This is how I become friends with people, is I like put them to the test and then they trauma bond with me.
I did the same thing. They trauma
bond with me. And they're like, we went through this horrifying experience. I'm not gonna lie. Now that I say that out loud, I actually be true.
Yeah.
Because I can think about.
I feel like I trust Chloe way more. Like, if I were gonna do something scary, like I need Chloe to come with me.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I am really honored by that though. You made me feel like a superhero. And I felt so strong.
I
was
did
like,
put you to the test the first time we met too.
oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
tried to teach Chloe how to wake surf.
Oh my gosh. And if I have ever looked unathletic, that was the crux of me looking unathletic. Like,
no.
So in a bathing suit on top of that. So I like watched all you and your friends do it. And it was like, yeah, that looks easy. And like, mind you, this is the first time me and Leandra hang out in real life.
Yeah.
And on a boat, which I was like, cool. And like, I got a boat friend. But they're all doing the wakeboarding, which I didn't even know what wakeboarding was. I knew you were a surfer. And so I was like, oh, well, you know what? Like, I'll try it. You know, I bet I could get up. No. And the one time, and like, I literally looked like a drowning rat. I was just like constantly trying to get onto the board. I couldn't even get onto the board. And then like all these, because it was just a bunch of dudes and then you and me. Yeah. And like, I kept trying to get on and these guys are like doing flips and shit. Like they're like very good at wakeboarding. And then it's me and I'm like, all right, guys, let me just try to do this right now. And I can't get up. And so eventually like, well, let's do it off the boat where you can like step onto it off the boat. And then they start going and they're like, you're doing it. And I'm like, guys, it's still on the boat.
I totally thought you were just standing up too. I remember that.
And I was just like, you guys, this is very sweet that you are all supporting me, but I cannot accept this. It is
like you were. I have video clips.
We should. I didn't even know that.
Insert.
We'll have to.
Like she's standing at.
Yeah, I'll insert this into the YouTube video because it is pretty funny. And then I made you go tubing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we went to.
We like clanked heads at one point.
Yeah, we were so bruised,
but it was so
bruised,
fun.
So much fun.
I literally thought I broke my back when I fell into the water. I like literally bent like a scorpion. Not even joking. At one point, when I got flung off the tube, I hit the water so hard and so deep that I literally thought that I turned into a U. But like not in a way that your body should. I was like, did I just break my back? Like, shouldn't I be in more pain? But luckily I did not. So yeah, shout out. This is not supporting tubing, but it is very
highly recommended.
Very dangerous.
Super dangerous, still recommended.
You never fell off, did you? Or at the very end?
We just slowed it down at the end, but yeah, I never like flew off.
She never flew off, guys. And she weighs like 90 pounds soaking wet. And her body is literally just like being flung everywhere.
And rip string.
Oh my God. There were so many times we couldn't even breathe.
Oh yeah. I think we laughed the whole, I think that's like when I get really like in a high adrenaline state, like I just giggle.
Oh yeah.
I think it's so funny.
And then when somebody else is giggling, then I can't stop giggling. And it's just like, it was the whole time. It was a beautiful experience. It was so much fun. And my back is not broken. So that's good too. Good. You had bruises on your arm that looked like somebody had like
abused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked physically assaulted.
Yeah, but it was a good time, guys. So that's our hangout sessions.
I guess my story kind of leans into breaking backs.
All right, let's hear it. Okay. Let's hear it. Okay.
So like a start of my story is when I was 26, almost 27. I was throwing a ball for my dog, and this seems so ridiculous. Like every time I say it out loud, I'm like, how ridiculous is this?
It's so, I just have to pause you for a second because when you say throwing a ball, I am picturing ball gowns and like an actual ball.
Oh, like throwing a like
and
I
feel like that says way more about me than it does Leandra. So anyway, I was like, yeah, exactly. Just throwing a ball for my dog.
No, this is me throwing a ball by myself, introvert at home outside. For my dog. So yeah, I was throwing a ball for my dog and I all of a sudden had no feeling in my legs and just collapsed. I did feel pain, but I also just felt like a numbness and I was like trying to touch my legs and I realized I couldn't feel them anymore. And at this time, my mom was actually in London and my brother was living up in Huntington Beach, which is like an hour or so-ish away. And I had just moved into this new area. And so I didn't know anyone that could just run down and help me. Luckily my dog didn't run away. Definitely would have thought that he would have because he was still young, like 1 or 2 years old. And I basically found out that I had what's called degenerative retrolisthesis. And that means that my spine is essentially degenerating at a faster rate than most other people's, unfortunately. And I also have spinal stenosis, which is narrowing of my spinal canal. So like your nerves run in the middle of that spinal canal. And as it gets narrow and the nerves touch the ends of that canal, it's like a nerve pain essentially, but I had crushed the nerves. So at the end of my spine, the nerves basically made it where my legs no longer worked.
Insane.
Yeah. My mom's neighbor had to come and help me. Like, she's like, oh, let me call my neighbor.
How
And
did anyone find you? Like, you were just like, were you yelling for help?
no,
Were you
I wasn't.
anywhere that people?
I was in a parking lot, like right outside where
Okay.
but it was at an hour of the day where like no one was home.
Yeah.
And so I called my mom. Luckily, she was awake in London, and she called her neighbor and had him drive over to where I was. And then he helped like carry me into the house, and then I was just on the floor. And then my brother came down with his girlfriend and helped me, and then went to a hospital, and the hospital basically just said like, you need to have surgery in order to save your legs. And they wanted to put two 12-inch rods down either side of my spine. And
To, like,
I was
stabilize it?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound like something I want to do today.
That's so scary, because it's like you're in a hospital and they're telling you this is your option. And it's like, I mean, how did you even have the wherewithal to be like, because if it was me, I would just be like, do whatever you gotta do. Like,
Yeah.
do what you gotta do. I don't care.
Intuitive for sure. Like
Wow.
intuitive feeling of, I don't think that's the only solution.
Yeah, because it just seemed like we have to get you walking
Yeah.
right this second, and this
And
is the only solution.
And probably just like my medical history in general. Like I had a freak accident with like a medication that I was given for acne, and they were like, oh, take it at night. And I was like, okay, perfect. And so when I took it at night and then you go to sleep, it just sits there and it burned a hole in my esophagus. And the doctors were like, yeah, why don't you take ibuprofen to help with the pain? And then you take ibuprofen and that actually makes it worse. And so I feel like I didn't have a lot of faith in doctors.
Okay.
And so for me, like hearing one opinion was like, I don't think that's gonna be the call.
That's incredible, because I feel like if I was in that moment, in that experience, now granted, were you in pain or you were just unfeeling?
I had like pain in my lower back, like a pinching pain.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any pain from the waist down.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like I would be panicked in that moment.
Yeah. It was just more so like, I mean, odd that you like can't feel your legs, and to move them, you're like using your arms to pick them up and stuff. But I think I was still in a state of shock that I hadn't hit fear yet.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I was doing some research on like degenerative, like I did an MRI that basically showed like my vertebrae dislocated backwards. And so I was like, okay, like what do you do? And basically everything was coming up with like fusions or surgeries, but I just didn't feel like it was the right call for me. And at the time, I like to say this, like, I feel like you meet people in life at a time where you're supposed to meet them to help you with something, or you're supposed to help them. Like there's some sort of lesson that you're supposed to get when someone crosses your path. And a few days before my injury, I was actually running the beach at Del Mar Dog Beach, and a guy stopped me and had like asked for my phone number, and I gave it to him. And we had just chit chatted a few days prior to my injury, and he had asked me out and be like, I can't come out anymore. I actually cannot move my legs. I thought like, oh, this guy is just going to think I'm full of shit.
Right. Oh yeah.
But oddly enough, his best friend had the same injury, but his was called degenerative, I think it's anteriolisthesis. So his dislocation was inwards and mine was outwards.
Wow.
So same injury, and he did it by taking his shoe off, and twisting.
Oh,
and it's dislocated inwards. And he's like, yeah, and actually he got by without surgery by seeing this doctor up in Oregon. And he ended up connecting me to that doctor in Oregon, and I flew up there. I bought all 3 seats on Southwest so I could lay down.
Beautiful.
And then I had someone pick me up, a driver, to take me to his office, and he evaluated me and did more imaging. And he said, I can get you walking again without surgery, but I need you to move to Oregon. And I was like, okay, move to Oregon and
or not
surgery, or not walk and do surgery that also may not even be helpful.
Yeah. Wow.
And my odds with surgery were like 33% it's going to be worse, 33% it's going to stay the same, and 33% it's going to be better. So I'm like, okay, so like 33% is like all I really get. And so I opted to move to Oregon.
Because I mean, you could always do the surgery.
Yeah.
If it didn't work. Right.
So I was willing to move to Oregon, so I did. And within that time too, before I moved, I think it took me like a few months to move. Gosh, maybe like 8 months of not walking. So it was a long time that I was in San Diego. Yeah.
And you're like a super active person too. And like also I can imagine the shift from San Diego to Oregon, just weather wise, of being
Well-
used to, I know you've struggled with depression and anxiety for
Yeah.
a long period of time. Had you at that point also struggled with anxiety and depression, or did that kind of come afterwards?
I actually felt like I was at a highlight of my life
Ugh.
where I didn't have feelings of depression.
Yeah.
anymore, and I was like exceeding really well in corporate finance, like
Mhm.
living on my own on the beach in Encinitas. Like
Mhm.
I was like living this dream life, like with amazing groups of friends. And then I felt like everything got
Had a
called
hard
out.
pivot. Yeah. The reason
Yeah.
I was asking about the depression is I think that it would be very hard if you're somebody who's predisposed to struggle with that sort of thing to move from sunny San Diego and Encinitas to Portland, where it's just like gray all of the time.
All of the time. Yes.
Yeah.
But the depression kicked in
Mm,
when I moved.
yeah.
And I think that's because it was separation from my family. It was
Mhm.
separation from being comfortable with like where I was living. Like I was used to San Diego my whole life. I
Right.
never moved away from home, which means moving away from my family. I also couldn't bring my dog with me at the time. So my mom
Ugh.
had to take care of him because I can't walk him. And then just my friendships really dwindled. Like I had one friend that kept checking in on me, and he's still my friend to this day.
Mhm.
You met him, Chris. So he was the only friend who
Yeah,
kept
when did I meet Chris?
at Foodie Lands.
Oh shit, which one was Chris?
Chris bald with a hat and glasses.
Oh, that's
And
so
I've lived
sweet.
with, he's one who I lived with. We worked together at AT&T, so he's a long-term friend, but he's the only person who ever checked in on me when I moved to Oregon.
What a fucking sweetheart.
Yes, I love him. So you realize in those moments who is there
Actually
for
cares,
you, who
yeah.
actually cares. And I felt like I got like a huge reset button in life. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so sorry you went through all this. I'm like, no, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from it. And on top of it, I feel like Chloe and I were just talking about this before the podcast. Like I've had a series of events that seem like it's impossible for like more shit to go bad.
Seriously.
But during that like 8-ish months before I moved to Oregon, I also started developing brain inflammation.
Oh my God.
So I was diagnosed with encephalitis and neurotoxicity.
Is the encephalitis what? Did you ever read the book Brain on Fire? Or
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Similar, but
Okay.
not the same diagnosis.
Okay.
But like, so not as gnarly as her, but watching that movie was very triggering.
Yeah, I
for me
can
at the
only
time.
imagine.
But yeah, I developed a brain injury as well. And so when I went to Oregon, I felt very blessed to have a doctor that was like, I will take care of your back. My wife's an ER doctor, so I had his wife too. And then he had people he knew through like neurooptometry and neurology, the top neuro doctors in Oregon for me too. So all around, I just had like this perfect team
Yeah.
of doctors to heal. And then about 2.5, 3 years later, I got to come back to San Diego.
Damn. So a 3-year process. But you were walking after 8 months.
I was walking after 10. So it took me 8 months to make the move.
Mhm.
I was flying to and from appointments.
Mm.
And then once I moved and I did like 12 appointments, like back to back, I could start walking again.
Okay. Damn.
Um,
And
yeah.
during that time, were you able to work?
Not really.
Okay.
I feel very lucky that my bosses that I worked with in corporate finance, they still paid me. So they still paid me my base pay. And then anything additional basically was like if I had previous clients that I was working with
Yeah.
where they were still making money from them, they would pay me
Okay.
for those.
That's
I
pretty amazing.
could email when I felt okay, but with the brain inflammation, I was actually slurring my speech. So I could no longer speak on the phone without sounding drunk. So I was not doing any phone calls, but I was doing all emails. And then if they needed to speak to someone, I referred them to my bosses that took over
gotcha.
the calls for me.
Okay.
So I was very blessed in the fact that I didn't lose my job. I got to keep my health benefits.
Mhm.
I was still paid my base pay plus some extra on top of it. And then I had an emergency fund. So I feel very blessed that I did not go into debt, just very close to it.
Yeah. Well, because if I remember correctly, you and also sorry, I don't want to skip ahead to that because I do obviously want to talk about the financial side of that. But like, what did you do in the free time that you had outside of like doctor visits and the few times you were able to like email? Like, what was your life like in those 3.5 years?
That's a great question. I spent so much time reading.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't watch like screens very well. Like for some reason it really hurt my eyes, but I could read. And so all I would do was order books and read like paper books. And I was reading all about healing, whether it's like mind over medicine.
Yeah.
I read a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books that were like, you are the placebo, like, and how people had done, like he had done surgeries for people who needed surgery. And then other people who needed knee surgery, he didn't actually cut them open he cut them open, but he didn't perform the surgery. And there was a study done that would basically show that even though people were cut open and think that the surgery was done to them, their knee or whatever part of them that they did healed. And it's because it's like your mindset around it. So I basically it clicked for me that healing is not just physical, but it's very much more so mental.
Sure.
And so I was studying how do I heal mentally, and like, what is it that I need to learn from this? Because I'm not going to heal until I learn it. And so and people might think like, oh, that's so woo woo. Like, if you want to heal it, go do your physical therapy. That wasn't it though. It really was like mind over matter, and realizing that, I think personally, after what I've been through, that when you get knocked down to where you can't do anything, you can't work, you can't hang out with friends, you can't make food by yourself, you are basically, I feel like, being told, stop and like listen to what you need to get out of this.
Yeah.
And when you get the lessons, you'll start to heal. And it was pretty crazy how, after reading all 4 of Joe Dispenza's books and like reading other people's books on healing, that I naturally just started to heal. And I didn't heal from my brain injury with any medication. So I didn't follow any treatments, no protocols, anything that I was prescribed. I didn't take any of it. I treated my body better with like eating better and like doing my physical therapy and stuff. But I feel like my brain inflammation mostly went down from like detoxing, but doing it in a way without any medication. It taught me like how powerful your mind is.
Yeah, that's wild. So a lot of reading in 3.5 years in Portland. Do you feel like you have PTSD from that time?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Work through it?
Not anymore. The only time that I would feel it is, so I don't drink alcohol, because alcohol is a neurotoxin. When you have neurotoxicity, you probably shouldn't drink alcohol. But if I were to drink enough alcohol, I would feel the same weight and numbness in my legs again.
Oh, geez.
And also in my arms. And so
that's terrifying.
For me, I don't like that feeling.
So is that when we were like, I'm done with alcohol?
Yes. So as soon as I like got back to San Diego and went out and like had a couple drinks and I felt the heaviness, I was like, hold on a second, there's something
done. Yeah. Wow, that would be terrifying.
So I knew like this is a no for me.
Yeah. Okay. So you go through this. I know it was very expensive.
Yes.
I remember you were like a baddie at negotiating though.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us a little bit about that process, because the amount that you were originally charged was no joke. It was like over $100,000, right?
Well over that. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the amount?
Probably $250,000. Yeah.
$250,000?
Yeah. And people like, well,
and did that come all at once, or that was like broken up over a long period of time?
Bill, every time I hated checking the mail.
Yeah.
I hated it because every time I opened the mail, it was just bills.
Oh.
And it's like imaging, doctor appointment, copay. It's like
that time.
And so a lot of people are probably like, okay, well, don't you have health insurance? Yes, I actually had a platinum PPO health insurance.
Yeah, but when you go out off the grid and do something different, a lot of the time that stuff is not covered. Exactly.
And so that's not even like out of network. I'm seeing doctors that will not even give you a super bill. Like they are cash only. Oh. And a lot of these specialists were anywhere between $600 to $800 per hour.
Oh my God.
Including extra for 15-minute increments.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's so messed up that like some of the healing stuff out there, like I even think about, other just holistic doctors who are focusing on like the holistic human being rather than like, for example, the surgeon who was just like, we're just going to stick rods into your back rather than looking at the whole person and everything that they could do. It's just like that's straight up not covered by anything. And there's so many different areas of that. I mean, it's as simple as acupuncture. It's like, it's not covered, even though it's been shown, but it's like here in the US, we do not fund that kind of research. We also do not, like, there's no money in it to then go back to the US government to then like create policies to require that into insurance companies. So it's just such a mess and a disaster. And it just always makes me think about how, that's what capitalism is. We prioritize profit over people.
Yeah. Sick care over healthcare.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Which is very annoying. It really bothers me because it's like, if you can prevent it by doing proper testing and have it all be covered.
Yeah.
But big pharma is a money-making machine.
Yeah. And it's not going anywhere. Yeah. And it's so deep and so confusing. There's so many players at stake. It's just a disaster. So anyway,
Yeah.
we've been on a healthcare kick lately. Like I just had a pharmacist on yesterday where we were just talking about like programs to get your meds paid for or to get a reduction in the cost and things like that. So it's just been like constant. And then we had somebody on about charity care. So because it just pisses me off so much that it's like I just want to talk to people about it and get more educated about it. But anyway, sorry. So $250,000 of debt. How the hell did you negotiate that? And what did you get it down to?
So I feel like I learned the skill of negotiation through my mother.
Literally.
I learned that skill through my mom when we used to like have garage sales and people were like, I want to buy that for $1. And I'm like, no, $1.50.
That's amazing.
I learned sales and negotiation very young.
I love that. There you go. How to teach your kids about money? Have some yard sales and put them to work.
But I feel like when I was first going through the medical bills, it was around Christmas time. Perfect gifts getting in my mailbox, my bills. But I would call and I would just say, I would call the billing department.
Yeah.
And I would ask them for an itemized list of it because I'm looking at it and I'm seeing an ICD-9 code. I don't understand what they did. Like, what am I actually paying for? And then I might have seen some line items on there where it's like something as simple as them giving me like a medical gown. But I'd be like, no, I didn't put on a medical gown. I was just naked or like whatever the situation, like I wore my normal clothes, whatever it was. I feel like I was naked a lot throughout that experience.
Oh my God.
The introvert in me was screeching.
I can only imagine.
But no, I remember just saying, oh, well, like I didn't actually get that gown. So like, can you remove that line item? So I started breaking down the line items or like if they gave me they wanted to like they gave me Toradol once, which was like an anti-inflammatory, and I was like, no, I declined the medication.
Wow. So, and you literally, and I can only imagine how many lines you had to go through.
Oh yeah, a lot.
My gosh.
And then I would say, okay, like this bill is for like if it were like 20% of the hospital stay or whatever, it might have been like, I don't know, I'll give it an easier number, like $1,000.
Yeah.
And I would say, great, that's a lot of money. And I would say, like, I'm going through like multiple diagnoses and I am still being treated. And I have bills on my desk. And I was like, I'm not asking for sympathy, but I am asking for some help.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that I can pay today to clear this bill and have it be paid off in full and be done with it? Because I know like you guys want to be paid.
The settlement amount. What are you willing to do here?
Exactly. And I feel like with it being Christmas time, 'tis the season, but the woman on the phone told me, she said, it's, this is actually a good time to apply for like financial hardship, but you can like also, if you can pay like 40% of the bill, they're typically happy about that. Because most people can't afford like a $500 emergency in general.
Right.
And let alone $500 emergencies. So she was saying like most of those people, they just go into collections and either A, never pay them, or B, they break it down into payments and then like maybe stop making payments at some point. So on average, they only get back like 30 to 40% anyways. Yeah. But if you can get 40% right now, they're happy.
It almost seems like they blow up the cost just so knowing that they're only going to get like a small portion of it. It's such a disaster. Okay. So that cut off 40 or 60% for you.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, if I can pay 400 today right now, it can be done with. And she said yes. And then she kind of instructed me saying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you an email with a confirmation number. And she said, I also want you to write on your bill the last four digits of your credit card number that you're using to pay with and today's date, and that you're speaking with me, and this is like my employee number. I was like, why are you telling me all this? And she said, it's for your own record, so that if someone else in billing comes in and is like, why are we missing $600? Charge her again. They know, like they'll call you and be like, no, I paid this, and I have an email written in writing that the $400 was going to cover the full $1,000, and that I would not be responsible for anything else. And so I feel like she kind of taught me a lot, but she also said during the end of the year is the best time to do that. Probably has to do with taxes and stuff of them making money.
Sure. Interesting.
I don't know, but she just said end of the year. So I feel like I didn't get to negotiate all of them, but at the end of the year, if that happens, it's typically a little bit easier. And then she did also tell me about applying for financial hardship at a hospital, and the hospital, which I didn't even realize, given my income at the time, because it had dropped down because I wasn't making my full pay at the time, and with my diagnoses, I found out that the hospital was going to cover 6 months of bills.
Oh, wow.
for one period. So
Okay.
whatever those were, they were wiped to zero, which
Amazing.
sometimes those can be wiped 50%, 25%, 75%. I don't know how I got zero.
Yeah.
Because
Do you know, was it charity care?
no,
It wasn't? Okay.
no, it was through a hospital. It was like I applied just through that hospital. So any bills at that hospital were covered. And so basically, if
Yeah.
I needed to go back to the ER, I was like, they're like, anytime within this 6 months from
You come
now,
to
it's
this one.
covered.
Yeah.
You come to this
Mhm.
one. So I kept going back to that same one. The odds of that happening for everyone else, I don't know.
Well, and
But
that's
it's
why I
possible.
asked if it's charity care, because charity care is per hospital. So
Gotcha.
it's like if it's a nonprofit hospital, every nonprofit hospital has to have charity care because that's how they remain with their tax exempt status.
Okay.
Because in order to, like, the tax exempt status obviously is saving hospitals billions of dollars, so they have to provide that kind of financial relief. So I wonder if maybe
Gotcha.
it was.
Maybe it was for you. So it's
Yeah.
Oregon. It's the Oregon, one of Oregon's largest
Okay.
hospitals. And then here in San Diego, I got the same thing at Scripps Hospital. So I
Okay.
got it for 2 different hospitals.
And how did you find out about that?
Just that girl on the call.
Okay,
He
wonderful.
told me to like try to apply for financial
Little
assistance.
angel, little billing
Yes.
angel. Because I feel like usually you have to call so many times until you get somebody who like really
Cares.
can help you or will help you or is willing. And that's what I loved about talking to Jared Walker, who's the founder of $4. He's like, you just keep calling. You do it
Yes.
every single day and you ask, what is the settlement amount today? And if it's not a number that you're good with, you call again tomorrow. And I'm
Yes.
like, it drives me crazy that it's that kind of like effort though that we have to put in.
Oh yeah, it was a part-time job or maybe full-time.
Yeah.
The amount of bills that I was on the phone all day. Like when you asked like what else did I do? I guess besides reading was
Negotiating your bills.
negotiating my bills.
Yeah, jeez. I guess that's a small win every time though. It feels like
Oh yeah,
motivating.
Totally. And you do get better at it.
Yeah,
I feel like it
sure.
becomes
A little game.
Yeah. And my mom always taught me this, like, no from one person isn't no from someone else.
Exactly.
And so if someone says no, there's nothing we can do. Great. Thank you for your time. Like, still stay nice to them. Don't be like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's fine. And then just call and talk to someone else, because you never know who that next person's going to be that's going to be more willing to take an extra step for you. And another tip that they taught me, she taught me this, but she said you can also wait until, like, if you get a bill, you'll typically get that bill for like 3-ish months. And then you might get like a red one in the mail that's like, hey, might go to collections now.
Yeah.
And she said that's actually the best time to call is right when it's about to go into collections. And then you say, okay, like, don't let it go into collections. Obviously, that'll mess up your credit.
Yes.
But right before, you typically get a final bill, whether it's red or white, it'll say like it's the final one that they're going to send out to you. And that's the best one to call, because then it, I guess, kind of shows a little bit more that you're like struggling to pay.
Yeah.
I just called them as I got them because I didn't have jack shit to do.
Yeah.
So I just called them.
Well, and clearly you were successful at it, because what were you able to get it down to?
I was able just under 100,000.
Oh,
yeah.
Still. And how old were you at the time?
Finishing paying them, I was 29.
29 years old, paying $100,000 in medical bills, which is less than half of what you were originally charged. That's crazy.
But I did have a really large emergency fund. I shouldn't have. Like, looking back now, I'm like, why did I have so much money?
Were you just hoarding it? Maybe something in you just knew something bad was going to happen.
Well, in a way, a little bit. I always thought, for some reason, like, I feel like I'm gonna get like really sick one day. I don't know why. I have like very weird intuition that scares the shit out of myself. I scare the shit out of myself all the time. But my mom taught me, ever since I got my first job working at a diner, she told me put $50 per paycheck away in a savings account. And she didn't know about a high yield savings at the time. I don't even know if they existed back then.
Right. I don't know anybody knew about them back then.
But at 16, I was putting $50 per paycheck away, because she's like, you weren't making any money before, so like spend your money and then save some. And then as my jobs increased and like I got 401k, she's like, put 15% of your paycheck into your 401k.
Wow.
And then still like maybe put 100 or 200 now in your emergency fund. And she said, it's just there.
That's fantastic
for an emergency.
Tips. Yeah. Because it's like actual tangible things that you can do. Whereas like I feel like most parents, when they try to give advice, number one, they don't know how. And number two, I feel like the most common thing that I hear is, oh, just save money. Just save it.
Yeah.
Just pay yourself first, save it. And it's like, okay, but how much? What should I do? And your mom was like, I'm just going to tell you exactly what to do and you're going to do it and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And I'm surprised at how much she knew, because she's an immigrant from Israel. So like, I'm listening to these. I'm like, yeah, my mom's always right. So sure, I will just keep doing what you say
Sure.
because she hasn't let me down once.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, if any tip of advice is listen to my mom's
Yeah.
advice. And also if you're a parent, like teach your kid to just put $50 away, like
whatever it is, adjusted
maybe
for
more
inflation.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
75.
75. Yeah. $75 a paycheck.
Yeah.
Even if it's just their first job.
And it may seem like an arbitrary number, but it's like sometimes when you're a kid, you need just a rule. You need a standard rule of, even if it's a percentage, put 10% away every single time. But like eventually you'll want to question those arbitrary numbers so that you can then get on track. But here's the thing is if you start saving 10% at 16 years old and continue doing that for the rest of your life, 10% will be enough. Yes. Like 10% is enough, but you have to start really young. Yeah. It's not enough if you're starting at 30 or 40, you know, most of the time, but it all depends on a variety of factors. So, okay. So you paid off $100,000, just under $100,000 of debt in medical debt. Freaking crazy.
Out my savings.
Then you came back to San Diego. Yes. I wanted you were like, yeah, my life started when I was 26. And I'm like, well, Leandra, we're leaving out like 26 years. So yeah. Tell me a little bit about like, what was money like growing up for you?
Ooh, good question.
I wasn't going to let her get away with that, guys. Yeah. She's like, so my life started when my back broke.
Yeah. I feel like people think that I grew up a very different way. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're just like, oh, Cali girl, like had it all, beach life. And it's like, that was definitely a part of it. But there was a lot of struggle growing up. So I grew up, my parents split when I was 3 years old, and my dad was never someone to help make money for the family, which I think is what ultimately led to their split. But my mom was someone who always hustled and always worked. And so I grew up with watching her cleaning neighbors' homes or going to other garage sales and saying, you know, whatever you don't sell at the end of the day, but you still want to get rid of, I can take from you. And then my mom would have her own garage sale, and that's how she provided food for us, was these garage sales. And we had them every weekend. Wow. And she actually made them fun for me because it was like, I get to put out a little store that I'm putting together. And I'm learning to count money and I'm learning to negotiate. Like when people are like, oh, $1, I'm like, no, $1.
Oh my gosh, as a kid, it was always so fun when your parents had a garage sale.
I loved it.
It was so fun. It was like, we only ever had one like once a year where it was like the whole subdivision would have it. And I just remember you like go around, you sticker everything. And, like, sometimes you get to be the cashier. My favorite was always to be the cashier, make change for people and like have a little calculator and all that stuff. Oh man.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I think my mom really hid the struggle of it. Yeah. Because I remember the fun. Like I don't remember a lot of like pain or struggle through much of it at that age. So then I want to say, I mean, I know that she filed bankruptcy at that time too. And she learned a lot about bankruptcy because she ended up finding out that my biological father charged a lot of money to credit cards under her name. And so there was some financial abuse there, but my mom learned, like, you know, always have separate money from your husband, which I know not everyone will agree with, but that is something that
we had a therapist on, a couple of relationship therapists on, literally like 2 days after me and Tarek broke up, which was hilarious. I was like, of course, hey guys, let me tell you about what's going on in my life. But that was one of the things that they said, that when they say it to somebody, and they're huge advocates of that, because obviously we see what happens when somebody does not have an emergency fund or access to their own money. Like financial infidelity is a real thing, which by the way, they had never heard of that. Financial infidelity.
Oh wow.
That like they knew what it was, but they had never heard it called that. Oh. And I was like, oh, look, a little new thing for you. It's a huge problem. Yes. But they said, they're like, we always encourage women, especially, or women identifying, that you need to have your own money stored away. How you communicate that to your partner is up to you, but you have to have access to your own cash somewhere, because it is so important.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
and
they
said that's like hide it. No, and they but they did say like that's the most controversial thing that they tell people, and like people get upset.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
excuse me, Logan,
because it like comes. You can do it in a dishonest way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and sometimes you have to do it in a dishonest way in order for you to stay safe.
Right.
You know.
Sorry, Logan.
We have sound qualities here. You'll get fed afterwards. She's like, it is dinner time. Dinner time. Okay, so sorry, I interrupted. So we've got the yard sales. Yeah, we're doing that on the weekends. Your mom unfortunately had to file bankruptcy because of your biological dad's financial infidelity.
Yes. And what I remember is my mom ended up dating someone new not too like long after.
Yeah.
And he was financially well off, and
Okay.
he helped with getting my brother and I into like extracurricular activities.
Mhm.
My mom's biggest fear was like that she wouldn't have enough money and like we would get in crowds with the wrong people. And so she wanted to keep us busy. So he did help pay for like karate lessons and swimming lessons, dance lessons. My brother played ice hockey and stuff like that. So he was around for a while up until I was about 15. And then he actually, the relationship with my mom didn't work out then, but he actually had my mom put her savings into a down payment on a home. And then there was actual infidelity between them. And so when their relationship ended, my mom actually lost the house and lost the down payment as well. And so my mom had to reset again.
Oh, I'm
so
sure she started driving home the point, never rely on a man.
Yes. And
Wow.
my mom is like the most independent
Fancy.
boss
I just want
woman.
to give you a hug.
Yeah.
Damn.
But she became like an international flight attendant. She paid off her home in 17 years. Not the advice I would give to her.
Well,
low interest rate.
You know now.
She did, and that's what was important to her, was not
Yeah.
having a home payment.
Well, especially when you're losing it. I mean, when she's lost her home, when she's had to go through bankruptcy, I can only imagine. And I want to validate that, because it's like, we say that as a general rule of thumb is like, you don't usually want to pay off your home, but it's like, I can see why in that scenario, it was so important to her.
Yes.
You know,
super important.
I can totally.
She like loves having no mortgage
Yeah.
payment at all.
Well, and just the knowing that this is yours.
Yes.
You will not lose it to a man. You will not lose it to a bank. You will, it is yours.
Yes. I feel like that was the right decision for her.
100%.
Without factoring in numbers. And I'm obviously the numbers person.
Right.
So I'm like, but
Yeah.
the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
But
We're
I can't.
Yeah.
This is what brings my mom joy. And so I'm
And peace,
proud of,
for sure.
of what that decision that she made for herself. But so yeah, I want to say like up until 15, we then had to like reset and get into a smaller apartment, me, my mom and my brother again. And my mom even had like sometimes people come and like live with us to like lower the rent even more.
Yeah.
And she kept working a lot harder as a flight attendant. And then I feel like she just taught me, like at that point I was 15 and 16, I was starting my first job. That's when she's like, save money, put it away. Like she was at a point of like, let me show you what I did wrong. And she also learned how to like add me as an authorized user to build credit.
Yeah.
So when I turned 18, I had a nearly perfect credit score, like above 800.
Yeah. Wow. And damn. It took me until like I was over 30 to get
that. The authorized user help. I mean, I can't take the credit.
No, that's awesome though.
But you know, along the way from like, I would say if we go 15 to 26, that's where my mom taught me like saving money, investing in my 401k, like having that emergency fund is absolutely essential. And like, if I am ever with like dating someone or married to someone, always have my own money on my own as well. And just to like be a hard worker. Like my mom taught me like go to school and like do the best that you can. I think also because like no one in my family at the time had graduated college. And so she wanted that for me. But yeah, my mom just taught me like how to be an independent woman with your money, handle it on your own. Don't let someone else take it over.
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah.
Francine. Yeah. And look at you now.
Yeah.
Now teaching people how to do it.
Yeah. She's just living that debt-free life.
No
mortgage, no car.
She's still working though, isn't she?
She is still working as a flight attendant, but she's been off of work for her injury the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. But she should be back this year.
Cool. I bet she seems like the type of person, just what you're telling me about her, that is like probably excited to go back to work.
Oh, she can't.
Yeah, like she's like, I'm ready to get like moving and shaking. Yes. And like, let me do this.
She's a boss flight attendant. Aww. Like you would want her on your flight. She will give you anything.
I believe it, because I mean, you are one of the truly sweetest human beings I know. I'm not trying to like, you know, toss your taters. I don't know, that sounded weirdly sexual. I'm not doing that either. But like for real, now I'm gonna use that. I'm not trying to toss your taters or anything, but like no, truly, you're such a sweetheart, and like I can only imagine that Francine is also like just a sweetie. I feel like I know who Francine is, and I need
to meet her.
I do. I need to meet her. Let's make that happen sometime.
No,
I'll shake my rump for her.
Yes. She would love that. She'll like try to belly dance next to you.
Oh my god, I would be honored. That would be amazing. We will have to film that.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. So then at what point, because like, it's one thing to understand money management. It's a whole other thing to understand how to invest. So did you study finance in college? That was your degree?
So my degree was in business administration, but my emphasis was in finance and marketing.
But did you learn, because I know with finance, it doesn't necessarily mean you learn how to invest. It doesn't necessarily mean you learn personal finance. So where did the investing education come in? When did you realize like, ooh, this is something that I really need to be doing?
When I was like, what the fuck is a 401k?
So when you got like a first big girl job.
Yeah. I got my first job at AT&T. Don't ever work there.
You heard it here first.
I had to get that out in one breath. But yeah, I remember when you're signing up for like your 401k, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'm like, Mom.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, just put 15% of your money away. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll just do that. I'll just what she said.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand what it was.
Or what the options were.
Yeah. And so at the time I was 22.
Yeah.
And I didn't know like what I was actually investing in, which was mostly AT&T.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's like what they put my money into.
Now I'm so curious. Is AT&T doing fine? I mean, I think they've been fine.
Yeah, they were fine. Okay. The money has more in it than when I left the company. I've since rolled it over to manage it on my own.
Yeah. But it's probably no longer an AT&T only.
But I want to say I got interested in investing when I was like, what is this 401k thing?
Yeah, when it became real to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And just learning retirement. And I remember at the time too, my mom's company that she was working for, United Airlines, merged with Continental Airlines. And she told me that their pension was removed. And I was like, what the fuck is a pension?
Yeah. I'm having my dad explain that to me. I don't even know if I think he was able to like give me a really dumbed down version.
Yeah.
But like now I teach him about his 401k.
Yeah. And now I teach my mom about hers.
Yep.
Yes. And she literally told me today, she's like, can you look at that again today? Oh, like, yeah, later, but not today.
Yeah.
Go to Chloe. Later.
Hey, Francine, you can send it to me. Don't worry.
Just that. I'm going to sign my mom for one-on-one with you. No, but that's when I got interested because I'm like, what the fuck's 401k and what the fuck's a pension? And then just I understood compounding from a debt perspective, learning in finance. So I learned that about like when you finance a car and the interest rate on the car and how the interest actually applies. And then I'm blessed to not have any student loans, but I also learned how the interest compounds daily on those. And so I'm like punching these into compound calculators. I'm like, people are paying so much more money for their cars, so much more money for their education, so much more money for their homes. But like, what about the reverse of that? Of like making money off of interest. And that's what I learned exactly what investing is your money making money. And
do you remember
compounding.
What were the first resources that you used to learn how to money? Because if you were 22, and that was over 10 years ago, sorry to share that, but I know you post your age on Female in Finance. So yeah, what were you Googling? Who did you find? Like what came up? Because at that time there weren't a lot of us.
No,
there was Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman.
I don't even think I had Instagram. Dave Ramsey was one of them. So
Dave Ramsey's investing advice isn't great.
No, it's not. But his get out of debt was
right.
But I remember him bringing up investing and how he invests in like those 25% in different categories, like growth and stuff like that. And I was like, is it that cookie cutter? Like, is it that just simple 25% into each of these? And then I just started researching like what are like growth funds, what are and I think I just kept rabbit holing, like learning one thing. And then I'm like, okay, well, what are growth funds? And then like, what are these funds? And like, what are these index funds? What's in these index funds? And so I just like kept
just like one thing after another.
It was just Google. It wasn't even books. I did read his one book and I was like, okay, great. But it was like all debt, which I didn't have. But then I think it brought up the curiosity of investing, and he very briefly brings it up in the book.
Because he wants you to use his smart advisors.
Yes,
obviously,
exactly. Even though I actually called one of them once.
Did you?
I was horrified.
How was the conversation? The fees are bad, and their investment advice is terrible. I remember I've worked with clients who were using their smart advisors, and they like a lot of them didn't even fully understand like the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. And that's the thing is like, you'll see people talking about how they have their Series 6 or their Series 10 or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't mean they actually understand how finances work or that they understand like the basics. I had an acquaintance who has been scamming people forever. Like he's been doing a Forex thing, but it's like an MLM.
Oh God.
And
it's like two nightmares in one.
Nightmares combined, but he like makes everybody believe that he makes all this money. Meanwhile, he's like living in his in-laws basement and doesn't like, can't even afford to buy a car. And he just like, I think it was probably his Series 7 that he got, or Series 6. And now he can sell insurance products.
Oh,
But guess what? Because he has that series now, he can also technically give financial advice, even though this person, their finances are a disaster. They barely know like 7 hours worth, maybe 40 hours. Let's say he studied for 40 hours for this exam. Well, to pass that exam, you can pass with a 70.
C's
So,
get degrees.
yeah, they do. And it's like, I'm not sure that's a D. Is it? No, you're right. That's probably a
C minus.
It's been a while. But it's like, that was what's so wild. Like, even having people come into like work with me, either through the Lazy Investors course or through one-on-one coaching back when I did that, it was like, you'd see the stuff that their financial advisors were doing, and it was just horrendous.
Oh yeah.
Horrendous. And
The
it's like,
front
well,
load fees and everything.
the front load fees. And then so many of them aren't even investing their money. Like so many of them aren't even, I was talking to Amanda, and Amanda had a friend who like over $600,000 was sitting in cash. $600,000. Yeah, why is a great question. So anyway, I like, that was a side tangent because you guys know how I feel about that stuff. Nobody's a better advocate for your money than you are, just like nobody's a better advocate for your health than you are.
That's true.
Okay, so then you talked to a smart advisor. Tell me, like, was it just the fees that horrified you, or was it also anything
It was
else?
the advice in general.
Yeah.
I was asking questions and I'm like writing down their answers. I'm like, why would you tell me this? Like, why would you invest in this order? Like, why would you not tell me to do this instead? And why would you tell me it's okay to have a 5.25% front load fee on top of a 1.75% expense ratio? So you're telling me that a 7% in fees sounds epic for my investing.
You would be making nothing.
Nothing.
And it was every single time they were charging the front load fee, or only the first time that they put it into the mutual fund?
Every time you put money in, it's, if you put in 10,000, it was less 5.25%.
That's basically a 5% fee.
Exactly.
Like on every single
right
month. If you're doing it every single month. If you're not doing it every single month, obviously it's different, but still. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then
7%.
the expense ratios.
And if you're getting an 8% average annual return, it's like you're making 1% less than inflation.
Yeah. And extremely bond heavy portfolios, like 25% bonds. I'm like, I'm young. Why are you doing that to me?
25.
I don't have a gray hair yet.
Yeah, I have one.
I don't have a gray hair, so I don't have bonds.
Yeah.
For every gray hair, I will get a bond.
There you go. You should post about that.
Yeah.
Although people might be mad about it. Like, why are you shaming me for my gray hair?
I'm not.
It's like, no, we're just using it. We're using it as data. Okay, so then where did we get the, you know what? I think I'm gonna start posting about this information.
Oh,
Because when did you start?
I started November 2020.
Oh shit, so many people started in 2020. I wish I had started in 2020. I was like dabbling in the space in 2020 and didn't become Clover Money Coach until March 2021.
Okay.
And I think Amanda was also 2020. She was like fall 2020. So you started November 2020. What was the reason?
I was so bored during COVID. COVID was so boring.
Which also, to give a timeline, so we were talking about your health earlier.
Yeah.
You basically got out, you were back in San Diego, and then COVID hit, right?
Yeah, I was back in San Diego for about 3 or 4 months, and then COVID hit, and it's like, go back to your room. Good time out again. I finally got out, and I'm working in the office. I'm with all my boys in corporate finance, which, by the way, that's why I call myself female in finance, because I was the only female working in corporate finance for all 7 years that I worked for that company. No women came in to work there for any long period of time. So I was one of the boys, is what they always say.
Did that emphasize your sarcastic sense of humor?
Oh, for sure. The boys were spicy.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Mark has told me some things where he's like, if we were at Vanguard, this is what I'd tell you. I was like, well, I guess it's a good thing I don't have HR.
Yeah, exactly. Our HR, they were in on it. Like, they all knew like I was not sensitive to it, and I loved it. I'm like, what did you do this weekend, boys? And they would just tell me all their Tinder dates.
Oh my gosh.
All the shit that they would do and all the riffraff that they got into. And I was like,
I love that you just used the word riffraff, you old lady. That was so old. Those rugrats and their riffraff.
I love that. I love riffraff.
Oh my God. So wholesome. I don't know. We were talking about, okay, so what made you decide to start posting content?
So corporate finance took a pause. We didn't get laid off, but we were like not working because at the time we were helping some people with like capital loans that needed like businesses specifically, but the SBA, like Small Business Administration, had taken over. So they were like, okay, you guys pause. And then eventually we'll probably have you help with SBA loans, like qualifying people for these
Mhm.
SBA loans. But essentially we didn't work for like 4 months, I think it was. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my thumb up my ass every day for 4 months.
Yeah.
And so I started like, I think I just like randomly went to Barnes and Noble when it opened. And I used to love doing this. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I love going to Barnes and Noble and just picking out books and like opening up to a random page and reading it. And the book I actually picked up was Ramit's book, I Will
Oh,
Teach You to Be Rich.
no. Okay.
Yeah. We are both, never mind.
No. Meat doesn't like
Ramit
either
doesn't
of
like
us.
Either of us.
I know.
He blocked me, but it's fine.
We're on the shit list.
Yeah.
It's another story for another time.
Yeah.
I don't need a multimillionaire coming after me.
Yeah. He's fine. His book is great. I still recommend it, even though he doesn't.
I have never read it.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I still recommend it. But I picked it up and I was like, okay, this is like interesting. Like I know a lot about this stuff, but he's breaking it down really well, and I love that.
Yeah.
And
His education is good. I can say that for sure.
Yeah. And so then I just started like, I think as I followed him on Instagram, I got more like suggested people to follow.
Yeah.
And so I started following other people. I was like, this is kind of cool. Like people like are creating these graphics and like these videos, and they're like dumbing down personal finance. And this seems kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so
that's so cool.
Yeah. I was like,
that was kind of my experience too. Yeah. It was like, gosh, this is a funny story. I don't think I've ever told you this. When I got started a few months after you got started, I remember like following Amanda. Amanda I had followed since like 2020.
Okay.
And when she was still doing I give her shit about this all the time. So Amanda, who I'm talking about, is She Wolf of Wall Street. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, freaking amazing. She is one of the most inspiring stories of anyone that I know. And she first started creating, Amanda's a little old lady inside of a 35-year-old's body. I don't know I think she's now 35. When she started posting content on social media, she would put like, I wish I hadn't invested so much, said no one ever. And every single post was like that. And I was like, this lady must be in her 50s. I literally thought
she didn't show her face at the time.
She didn't have her face, or if she did, it was so small you couldn't see it. And then I remember when she finally showed her face, I was like, what? We've got like a hottie, like a 30-year-old hottie. And I was like, oh, what? And then eventually she obviously caught on that what she was doing wasn't working, and changed like the type of content. And now she's huge. I mean, she's got over 200,000 followers now, but I just remember back in the day being like, I wonder how that's going to work out for her. And then obviously she changed. And I remember one day, oh yeah, it worked out fine. So
I love you, Amanda.
Yes, we love you, Amanda. I give her shit. I say this to her face, but it's like, I want her to do a throwback. Like all those.
I'll repost one. I'll be like, check out Amanda's.
You just scroll back so far in order to get them. So if anyone's curious, just scroll way back down on She Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, to be fair, my earlier posts were also cringe. So
yeah, so were mine.
I mean, all of ours were. That's how it works.
Yeah,
you know,
learn.
That's what we do. But okay, here's the funny thing. That was kind of funny too. But when I first got started and I saw your content, I saw the Phi couples content, I saw Jeremy's content, and I saw Amanda's content. Mostly you, the Phi couple, Ceci at the time, Finances Reimagined, and Amanda. I was like, are they all in cahoots? They all have like almost the exact same style of infographics, just different colors. I was like, where are they getting this? And I was like, are they all working together? And I'm like, am I not part of the club? Like, how do I get into this club?
Infographics
club. Little infographics club. And like, obviously they're not, but it was like, I was like, how are they doing it? And I would try to like create infographics in Canva, and like, I'm not that girl. I'm not an infographics girl. I entertain you by talking to you and dancing with you. But I remember trying for a time, and I have some ugly infographics that were inspired by all of you, where I was like, okay, well, this is how they like split it up. And I'm like, still doesn't look like it. I was like, do they have a fucking template?
I'll send you a template.
Oh no, I'm good. We are not an infographics page. Anytime we even post an infographic these days, people are like, what is this? We don't like this. We don't want this. But I did think that was funny. I literally thought you guys all had like a group chat and like we're sharing content. And I was like, wow, it's like the finance Illuminati.
It was just a lot of trial and error in Canva.
Yeah.
I think what did help though is like between Amanda and Ceci and I, when we did post swaps, we did choose the infographics one to swap with each other.
Yeah.
Which for those of you who don't know what a post swap is, it's like, I want to share your content. If you want to share mine, that'd be cool too.
Yeah.
And so we would like swap a post that we think like our audience would enjoy. And when they would send me their Canva post, it basically breaks down like what they've created in it. I'd be like, oh, like this is where they grabbed this.
So you
box
learn from
and
it,
so you
right.
I kind of learned a little bit from doing post swaps of like, oh, this is how they got that graphic there. This is how they layered it.
And once you get into the community, everyone's so nice. So like, had I known that, I could have just been like, hey, how are you guys doing that? Could you like walk me through how to create this? Because you do it in such a clean, good looking way. But luckily I didn't, like, I'm sure those take a long time to put together.
Oh, hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when I was first starting, I want to say like each post took me like 8 hours. And so when people are like, oh, you just make these little posts on Instagram, I'm like, yeah, my little Instagram posts take 8 hours. And that doesn't even include writing the caption. I'm a slow writer. Like I love writing, but I'm very slow. Yeah, posts would take me a long time. And I remember spending every day making a post for the first year. I posted 1 post a day.
Yeah, now you've got more balance. You inspire me with the balance because at one point I was posting 3 a day. I was miserable. Yeah. It's like, because it's like you have a 2-hour break and then it's like, I got to take the time to post again. And everybody knows when you post, you got to spend at least an hour on the app because it's like, you got to be engaging, you got to be responding to comments and things like that. And so it would just completely derail my day. And I definitely struggle with ADHD in that, like, then when you're on the app and you're doing it, it's like to have to take a break from whatever it is that you were trying to like deep focus on. It just completely threw off my day. And that was when I was on the road trip across country. I was like posting 3 freaking times a day. And I was like, so now we're finally at the point where I've got a content assistant who helps me make sure I'm not posting the same stuff all the time. And I was like, what do you think about us going down to 1 to 2 a day? And now we are doing like 1, 2 if we feel like it, but trying to get down to 1 a day.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
I post 4 times a week. I'm sorry.
My posts do not take 8 hours to put together. My post may take an hour or 2 hours, depending on what it is. Some will take maybe 15 minutes. But then it's the time that you spend on the app that you're making sure that it does well. Cause it's like, all of us know that if you post and ghost, most of the time it's not going to do well. And it's like, you spent time creating it. And I know people who have assistants who will like hop on and do it, but I don't have anything like that. So
I don't either.
So then you're like, I'm just going to post content. And then when did you decide, let me be available for hire?
Like, when did I just want to like quit my job? And
No. First, when did you start coaching?
Oh, good question. Oh, that's a long time ago. I want to say I didn't start coaching until I had been in it for at least like 8 months. Yeah. And
so I actually started coaching before I ever started like the Instagram content.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was because I was vlogging about it. I was sharing my spending reports where I didn't really know much other than how to budget. So it was like, I was getting good at budgeting and I was sharing my budget, and I had somebody reach out and they're like, hey, do you want to give a workshop on this? And I was like, sure. And so I gave a workshop, and then I got clients from that. They're like, I want to work with you one-on-one. And I was like, I guess I'm a money coach now. So
there it is.
Before I ever created Instagram content, I had already been coaching people, and it was like a dabbling thing. It was not a lot.
How much did you charge for like an hour at the time?
My very first client was free.
Oh, dang. Okay.
I literally, I gave 10 free sessions to 10 people. And then if they wanted to continue working with me, I think I was charging $75 for an hour.
Okay. My starting rate was 40.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Yeah. Now she charges like $400
yeah, sorry.
for like 1 hour. But here's the thing is like, you very quickly get in and you realize your coaching is saving them so much money.
Oh yeah.
So much money. Like, I have had clients who we recognize $1,600 that they could easily get rid of in a month.
Yes.
And it was like immediately, and you don't need that many sessions to get off and running. I've had a lot who've had one. Same. Or I've had a lot and they'll email me a year later and be like, look at how my entire life has changed from that 1 2-hour call. Yeah. Like, or even a 1-hour call. And then there's also people who are like, maybe need 3 sessions. And even then, those are like fewer. I would say maybe 25% of people. And I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore, guys. I'm not like promoting my coaching. Leandra's still doing it. If you ever ask me for one-on-one coaching, I'll be like, well, explain to me what you need. She's one of the people who I recommend. But yeah, it is wild to see, the impact that it has.
Yeah. I just had someone not that long ago buy a house, and
amazing. That's the best.
Maybe 18 months ago. And to see them go from out of so much credit card debt, this couple, to now buying a home. And
Mhm.
also one of them even like started running their own business instead of
Mhm.
working for someone else. And I was like, I only had one call with them.
And it's crazy.
I
Yeah.
put a budget together and like an idea of like what they can do better with their money.
Yeah.
And they were like, they just
Took it and
with-
ran.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
that's what I always say is like when people message me like, this is because of you. I'm like, you did all the hard work.
Yeah, for
Like I
sure.
just showed you the tools, how to use them, encouraged you and answered questions along the way. But like you did it.
Yeah.
So many people, I always talk about it. Like so many people will buy a course, pay for a coaching session, do that, and they don't do it. And it's like, that's number one, why we do charge money is to encourage people to do it. And also like, you're not going to show up if it's free.
Oh,
you're
100%.
not going to show up. You're
Every
not going to
friend
do
I've
it.
given free advice.
They
to,
never do it.
They don't do the work.
It's got to hurt.
It's
It's
gotta
got to
cost.
be an investment.
Yeah. It's an
Um,
investment in yourself. And that's the way I always try to explain it to them. I was like, if you look at it as a $400 expense, that means you're not looking to do anything with the information.
So true.
If you're looking at it as a $400 investment in yourself, you're going to take it and run with it.
Is there anything that you struggle to invest in yourself now? Like, so for me, a big like learning curve for me is I used to be very frugal. I'm not a super frugal person anymore. I can be if I need to be, but I remember investing in the business was very scary. And now I spend like, you guys don't even want to know. I spend a lot of money on Clover every single month.
I don't yet.
But you're not doing ads.
No, I'm not
Oh,
doing
once you get to ads, last month we spent $25,000 total, but it was like between ads, my staff, I have 5 people who work for me now, but it's like all part-time.
Yeah.
But some of them are working like 60 or more hours.
That's a lot.
And yeah. And then we also have a blog team. And I also just hired a business coach. So it's like, had you guys told me a year ago that I would be spending 25 grand in a month on my business, I was so afraid to invest in Clover that the very first time that I even like bought a $2,000 course to learn how to like put together a funnel and a course, I was just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Here we go.
The first thing I invested in for my business was a lawyer.
Smart.
Yeah, and like making sure I've got my lawyer ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So like privacy policies,
Smart.
terms and conditions, contracts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I wanted to do, like forming an LLC, protecting myself from my business, so filing as an S corp, and like just separating out business and personal. And then the second thing I did to invest in my business was hire a business coach.
Oh, best thing ever.
Which was probably the next best move for me.
I literally, it's on my, this is going to sound terrible. I haven't really talked about my breakup yet on the podcast, but what I will say is that one of the things that made me realize how unsupported I felt in life in general was getting on my very first call with my business coach last week and being like, oh my God, I like love you because of the fact that you are showing up for me. I know I'm paying you, but like you're showing up for me. You're literally holding my hand. You're telling me everything I need to hear and you're coming with a plan and a solution. I'm like, wow. I'm like, the people I hire, I'm like, you're like a partner to me. And I was like, I felt really emotional about it. And I was like, I think that just showed me how much I felt unsupported.
Yeah.
And in general, like not with my friends are amazing, but yeah, it was a wild experiment.
Well, I'm glad you invested in it because a business coach helped you with your personal.
Literally in every way. She's already paid off.
Yeah. Yeah. She's already paid. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I have trouble with it. Like I love investing in like my own education.
Yeah.
So like I love reading a lot of books.
I will tell you what she's had trouble investing in.
Oh, I will not. Dude, Chloe will not let this down.
I will never let it down. I was literally driving with her and all of a sudden we're like listening to music, we're vibing along and the commercials come on. And I'm like, Leandra, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah. And I would not invest in a new iPhone, which
I made her buy a new iPhone.
As a content creator,
you have to. Her videos look like they were filmed with a potato.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a business write-off. This is going to improve your reels. This is absolutely a tool you need to have. I think you had like something from like 2012 or 13.
It was so old. I had such.
It was at least 5 years old.
At least 5-year-old phone. And then literally a month after you gave me shit for my potato of a phone and
it broke. Right?
It broke. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm literally getting forced into buying a new iPhone. So fine. Yeah. I'll do it. And then,
okay. It wasn't 2012. That would be very old, but it was like at least 5 years.
It was a 5-year-old iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bought the iPhone 13.
And like, do you regret it?
No, I don't. It's great.
You were forced into it.
I miss
Just looking
the
out
old
for
phone.
you.
Yeah.
Your potato.
Yeah, my
Oh,
potato.
okay.
I still have not bought Spotify premium. I don't know
It's
what, I don't
okay.
have an
It's
issue
okay.
with listening to
Well,
ads.
she listens to SoundCloud.
Oh, and SoundCloud, yeah. SoundCloud
And you pay for the premium on that one, don't you?
not anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's
That goes
not
to show you guys, she's a hippie. She's on SoundCloud, listen to EDM and whatever else. I don't know.
I'm just like not bothered by ads unless it's like
It's not weird. I was that way too for a while, and then I got it, and I was like, I cannot believe I spent so much time with ads. It's because it's not just the ads; it's the fact that you can pick whatever you want to listen to.
Oh, I guess because I never choose. I'm just like play me whatever you want.
No, the fact that you can like pick a song and play it over and over again, or like whatever you want, that is a really good feeling, I will say. That's why it's like once you go to, because I was the same, I was just like, oh, I'm fine. I was like using Pandora, Amazon Music that came with Prime when I had it. And then when I got Spotify, and I was like, I can listen to any song I want at any time. That was amazing.
I don't think I even have any subscriptions besides the basic Hulu.
Damn, girl.
Yeah, I like don't have.
Do you identify as frugal or just selectively frugal?
Selectively
frugal
for sure.
Yeah. There are certain things. I hate spending money on Ubers. I will never spend money on Uber. I will avoid it at all costs. And it's easier now that I'm sober because I'm like, I'll just drive
myself.
Yeah.
I guess I've never thought about that because I haven't drank in so long that I always just
drive, you never have to Uber.
No, more selective. I mean, today I was looking at buying a boat. So like
it's just she's like the house deal fell through. I want to buy a boat.
Buy this house, but I do want to buy a wake surf boat.
Hell yeah.
There was one for sale in Carl. I'm gonna show you a picture when we're done with this.
Oh my gosh.
And now I'm like,
but here's the thing I want to highlight. That's the key. Is spending on the shit that you want to spend on and cutting back on the shit you don't want to spend on, because who cares? Maybe for you guys, it's you don't want to spend money on eating out, or you don't want to spend money on DoorDash, but you're like, I'm going to buy a boat, like whatever. That's fine. It's all about using your money in a way that aligns with your values.
Totally.
So if Spotify ain't in your values, you save that $9.99 a month.
Yeah,
buy all
my boat.
It might be like $14.99 now. So
put in my sinking fund for my boat. $10 a month.
I love it. $10. I'll have a boat in 40 years.
Yeah, and I won't even be too old to drive it.
Oh my gosh. All right. This could go on forever, so we're gonna wrap it up. But okay. I always like to give folks 3 tips that they can take away. So I am so curious what your 3 tips would be. And this can be, I'm going to open up to anything in life. Okay. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be finance, because we talked a little bit about finance. Yeah. But like they hear finance tips from me all the time. So let's hear from Leandra. What is like live your best life, top 3 tips? Ugh.
The first tip is to invest in your mental health.
Yes.
For sure. Like doesn't sound sexy, but is.
I like that you say it invest too, because it really is an investment.
Yeah, it's not an expense, an investment. Definitely invest in your mental health. And if you don't think that there's anything that you need to go to therapy for, sometimes if you just show up, like things will come up that you didn't think about.
100%.
And that could be like because it's like erased from your normal thoughts because of trauma. It like usually erases some of your memories. So
I don't know, you're just like going through the day and living and like just pumping through the 9-to-5 grind or just the daily living, and you just shove it down. Look at Cash the video elevate. We could do a little like random reel of all my animal moments, because there were times where he was just like chilling on the back there, and then Logan coming up because he wants his food. He wants his wet food. We're almost done.
Okay. So yeah, I would say invest in like your mental health. Tip number 2, life tip: don't follow your passion.
Ooh, controversial take. I love that. Though. I agree.
Finance is my passion. Here I am following him. Like, don't do it. I would say like in the beginning stages of your life, if you can build wealth more at a younger age, then you have the money to then focus on your passion. I wouldn't say to focus on your passion right away. Like you have time. And I feel like people think like, oh, I just need to do what I love every single day right away. But I don't think that. I think it's okay to do something that is decent. Don't hate it. Yeah, if you hate it, like get out of it.
There's a wide range between it's my passion and I hate it.
Yeah, and so I would say like if you just like it and it's fine and you make good money doing it, then that's okay to do that at a younger age. And like I feel like when I worked for AT&T, one of my first jobs out of college, at first it was like, okay, like this is fun and I love all the people that I'm working with, and I was making $75K part-time, like kind of crazy, like high income coming out of college and doing it part-time. So I was in it for the money, and I will fully admit that I was very money motivated.
Yeah.
But I ended up starting to hate the job, not just like not be able to put up with it, but more like I can't get out of bed for this anymore. And so at that point, I took a change for myself and got back into finance. But more so just like it's okay to not follow your passion, to follow what
you're not
good
a sellout because you want to get paid. Like here's the thing is like getting paid means that you can live your dream life outside of work. And here's the caveat, like using that money to set yourself up to then be able to have choices later on where you could pursue those passions. If you are not pursuing your passion, you're unhappy at work, but you're getting paid and you're spending every cent of it, that's not falling into this recommendation. It's like, no, you are strategic about it and think about it. Now, granted, I know a lot of us in our early 20s did not think like that. At any point, you're 25 and you're thinking about it, you're 30 and you're thinking about it. A few years of really focusing on the income really can set you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And your skill set will bring you that income. So I say like follow your skill set, then your passion.
Yeah.
And you might even find that your skill set becomes something that you are more passionate about than something else that you were initially passionate about.
Well, gosh, at 22, I would have never said my passion was finance. That certainly didn't exist.
Yeah.
For me, I was passionate about, I don't know if I was passionate about anything. Except for not working.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to travel.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. I wasn't passionate. I would say I wanted to be a writer, but I don't think I ever really wanted to be a writer. I think it was like I was good at writing. So everybody would say I should be a writer. But it was like I always
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. And it was just kind of like I didn't know what else. Nobody ever told me I was good at anything else. Like it was like, that's your thing. That's who you're supposed to be. Your name, Chloe Daniels, sounds like a writer. You're going to be a writer. And it's like, okay, but most writers are poor. And I'm like, so I had that belief in my brain from the very beginning that I was never going to have money. So
love that.
Yeah. So that's why the passion could be very misleading when you're 22 years old.
Was that tip number 2?
That was. What's the third? Like Sorry. It's because I keep adding.
I was checking like what were we on?
Yeah.
I was like, I've got so many good like I feel like I could give you 5.
Yeah.
My third would be to learn the lessons from every single person you cross paths with.
Yeah.
And that includes the person that cuts you off in traffic. The lesson might be patience.
Oh, you're an angel.
So
Maya's fury.
Like just I feel like who you interact with, that person is there not just to like take your order at Chipotle, but like maybe there's something you can learn about them or they can teach you about something to you. And maybe Chipotle is a horrible example. Like, maybe they're just like, don't add the queso, like do not pay extra for the queso or something. But I'm just saying in general, any person that you cross paths with, it's no accident. And I feel like everyone is an expert at something, and it's usually not the same thing that you're an expert in. And so if you can like figure out like what it is that they are so smart in or like they're so good at, you can learn something from every single person. And that includes just the person that cuts you off in traffic, and to teach you to be patient. Or teach you it's not.
I told you guys, she's the sweetest person. I'm over here. I'm like, okay, Leandra. Yeah, absolutely not. But thank you anyway. Yeah, such a sweet little angel. And I'm over here like, I literally, when that happens, I think I was just talking about this on the Quick Money Tip episode the other day. I was like, I have to remind myself that I'm not better than everyone else. I literally, because when I think about where the rage comes from, it's this like instinctual, I'm more important than everybody else. I deserve to get where I'm going to with a smooth ride and nobody cutting out in front of me, especially in fucking San Diego. People would rather see you die than let you into their lane. Oh, yeah. Period. End of story. They would rather see your car light up in flames than let you into their lane. And so I'm constantly just like in traffic. Yes. And I even threw a middle finger real subtly because I know people are crazy. But yes, that's funny. But the lesson in that for me is the thing that will quelch my anger is I have to say, you are not better than anyone else. Like, and then I'm like, okay. Fine.
If I can give you a little tip.
Yeah.
What I always think of, so like there's like the people who like maliciously cut you off, where you're like, okay, sure, you're just trying.
Sure.
But for me, I'm like, how sad that your ego has to be like you have to have your ego filled so high that you have to cut people off acting like you're
better. You bet you're better than everyone.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, maybe I actually feel sorry for him, which is
wow.
like really hard to think of. But the other thing too is if they don't mean to cut you off, like it doesn't come across aggressive, but they like needed to get over, and it was like, what the heck? Like, why didn't you get over earlier? It reminds me of when I moved to Oregon. I got lost all the time driving.
Yes.
And I even drove on the opposite side of the road one day in Oregon, and some lady paused her car like in the middle of the road, rolled down her window, and she's like waving at me. And so I'm like, what does this lady want? And I roll down my window and she's like, I just wanted to tell you that you were on the wrong side of the road. And if you want, I'll back up and you can turn around right in front of me. I was like,
God, what a
angel.
sweet person.
And so I feel like that taught me a lesson to do the same thing. Is sometimes people are just really freaking lost or like spaced out.
Yeah.
And they are about to miss their exit, and so they have to cut you off. So I don't know. Just
Logan,
like,
she's such a good person.
there's just a lesson.
But I will tell you guys, don't let her sweetness fool you. If somebody goes and trolls one of her friends, this lady turns savage. Savage and spicy. So
I stand up for my friends.
We love that. So okay, we're gonna cut this off. So final 2 very quick questions.
Okay.
1, well, okay, 3. Where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me at female.in.finance. God. On Instagram.
We will leave that in the links.
On Twitter, it's at LP in finance because it was too long of a name on Twitter. And then my website's just femaileinfinance.com.
At least you got that website. So that's easy.
No dots.
No dots. Okay, so the question that I ask everybody at the end is, first, what's your very first money memory?
My very first money memory is definitely making money at garage sales.
Yeah, I
for
figured
sure.
so.
Yeah.
That's pretty cute. And I think that also is reflective in your overall like view of money. Is it's like, ooh, this is fun. I like this.
I like making it.
Yeah,
I like negotiating about it.
That's fantastic. And then my second fun question is there anything you're obsessed with right now? Like, could be literally anything.
Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
I've been going to Hawaii a lot. Like in the last, like I went a couple weeks ago, and then I already have a trip in August, and then I booked October because I felt like it.
Hell yeah.
And I just choose random dates of the year, and I've noticed that when I'm out and traveling, I feel like I'm more in my element.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's because there's like, I don't have to worry about what anyone thinks about me. Not like I care too much, but like I'm in a place where no one knows me. I don't know anyone. And I get to just like learn from other people and eat new foods and like try to meet new people and do things that are really outside of my comfort zone. But I'm doing it in a place that is comfortable to me, which is Hawaii, because I'm just comfortable in the water. I'm comfortable like in that area.
I love that.
So, yeah, I would say that's what
I'm glad you're going back to Hawaii for a little while.
Yes,
that's gonna be good.
I need it.
Awesome. Oh, my neighbor is literally going, she just texted me earlier and she's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow at 8 a.m.? I need a ride to the airport. And I was like, oh, where are you going? Hawaii. And then she's coming back on Sunday. Tomorrow's Friday.
Whoa, why so quick? I mean,
like her boyfriend's there.
Oh,
so I don't know if she's like going to get stuff or something. I was like, isn't that it's still a long flight from San Diego?
It's 5.5 hours.
It's not that bad actually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Actually, quick, like off story. My mom, who's a flight attendant, she would fly a lot of Hawaii trips.
Yeah.
And there was just one place that she loved to get fish tacos.
Oh,
and some flight attendant asked her to pick up her trip, and it was just a flight there and a flight back the next day. So if you fly there on a Saturday, you do come back Sunday. And my mom was like, I've been craving these fish tacos.
Oh my god.
And so she literally picked up the flight.
Hell yeah. Just to get those tacos. That's amazing.
And get paid for it.
All right, fish tacos, the ultimate hack.
I'm hungry.
Flying. I know, me too. So we're gonna go get some food. I hope you guys all enjoyed this probably very long episode, and we'll see you around. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Money Bear podcast. If you've made it this far, do us a favor, take 2 seconds, rate, review, and subscribe. It seriously means the world to me. And if you just take a second to do that, I will appreciate you endlessly. And if you do, let me know on Instagram and I'll thank you personally. So got that. And of course, since we were talking about anything financial on this show, please note that nothing on this show is intended as financial advice. I don't know you, unfortunately, and because of that, I cannot tell you what to do with your money. You got to work with a financial professional who knows your situation, who is preferably a fiduciary, and keep in mind that everything that we talk about on this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It's all my opinion. So there's that. If you want to see our full terms and conditions, head on over to the show notes. And while you're there, we've got free resources for you to get started on your money journey down in the show notes as well, including a free guide to help you with your budgeting templates and budgeting tutorials and investing 101, understanding the different accounts that are out there. All that good stuff is inside of my free guide, which is also available at thelazyinvestorscourse.com/guide. And if you're ready to take our relationship to the next level, also, I've got a free investing class that is available at thelazyinvestorscourse.com/webinar. We host it once a month. If you're ready to take our relationship to the next level, I am also hosting a monthly investing class. And that investing class, you can find the times we're offering it this month at thelazyinvestorscourse.com/webinar. That link is in the show notes as well. And that's where you have the chance to meet me live and ask those money questions live. It's a good time. We've had over 20,000 people as of recording this join or register. And yeah, it's always nice to meet you guys. So I hope to see you there. Again, all that is available down in the show notes. So thank you again for coming and listening. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.